good. Well, now you know some of my secrets. We really do have a good time at Draper University, and it's so much fun to see what these students do after they've been through it. Because what we've done is we've stripped away their high school hang-ups. We've made it so that so they can feel great about doing whatever it is that they need to go do. You know, there's so many things. Fear drives so many of us in so many ways. Watching the news is scary, but if you can strip away your fear, it's amazing what you're capable of. And I think that's what we do with those students. I think they're going to live more dangerous lives, but they're going to end up doing really some extraordinary things. So what I thought I'd do today is talk a little bit about investing. But before I do, I want to cover something that I believe is sort of near and dear to my heart. I've been flying. I was in Seoul, and then I was in. I flew from Seoul, Korea, to Kazakhstan through Uzbekistan, and lost my luggage. And so now I'm a little ripe, by the way. But I started to think that, and I'm going around the world, so I started to think about the term international. And it made me start thinking that that's an old term. And I think it's good for us to sort of have this right now where this is the first time I've been to Turkey where I had to kind of go through all these lines to get a visa. It wasn't great. It was sort of one of those things where you knew there really was no reason for it other than these leaders trying to stay in power and you know, kind of moan at each other. And I thought of the term international, and it's a little like, you know, interdivisional sports or whatever. Each of these countries has their leader and their fiefdom and their way of operating, but we are all global. I've decided that international is now, even though I'm saying it about 50 times today, not going to be a part of my vocabulary, because global is so much more what we are today. All the geographic borders have fallen. All of us now can easily move from country to country. Those governments, those people in power are saying, you know, telling us all what to do, but we can leave. Or in the case of Tunisia, we can gather a social media campaign and overthrow them. This is a really amazing, interesting time, and it's so exciting for me. And I'm starting to put some real effort into seeing what is the global governance. What does that look like? We know what international governance looks like. It's all these little land-based wars and, you know, spats and bilateral agreements and that sort of thing. But what does the global world look like from a governance standpoint? And that is going to be a really interesting issue. And here's what else is happening. We have the blockchain and Bitcoin and all of these new technology, e-governance. We have all these new technologies, and there's going to be sort of a layer of governance above all the other governments. That you know, we might end up having our health care and our social security and anything that's insurance-based be handled in the virtual world, in the cyber world. And the land-based government gets less and less important, except maybe city governments, things that are local to you. Those might end up being interesting. I had a great talk with the Prime Minister of Kazakhstan. And he's trying to create Kazakhstan as a hub. And we started brainstorming about how we could get more people into Kazakhstan. and make it more of a hub. He's trying to make it more free. And I said, well, the Estonians have this e-governance. I was very familiar with a team that put that together. And why don't you do that? And he said, that sounds like a good idea. We've been working on something like that for a while. And then I said, well, wait. So how do you, I said, Estonia's only got like 20,000 e-residents so far. In fact, I'm number 3. It was great. I was supposed to be number 1. The prime minister said I was going to be number 1, but it turns out he gave that to some reporter. Anyway, I'm number 3. So I told these guys, 20,000, it's not making a big impact on the world yet, but it was a brilliant idea. So then I said, well, what if you just, instead of having a guy sitting back there going, give me your visa, and sitting back there, what about having somebody who says, welcome to Kazakhstan. You are now a virtual resident of Kazakhstan. All you have to do is fly to Kazakhstan, and you are a Kazakh, and welcome. And then he has a big expo, brings in 3 million people. Suddenly he's got 3 million virtual residents of Kazakhstan. And then more and more of these services can be provided by that virtual residency. I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. And then it turns out I learned that the word Kazakh means free. And so I said, oh, you got to do this. You got to say, I am Kazakh. So that anybody who gets one of these cards, the one thing they have to say is, I am Kazakh. I am free. And it gets you thinking, wow, that is really exciting. He's going to create a free land, but generally he's going to create a virtual governance. And that, I think, could end up being something that just changes everything. Then all these countries start creating virtual governances, and they compete for us. They start looking, the way entrepreneurs look at their customers, they're going to look at their citizens, and they're going to be virtual. We're going to be able to pick and choose. They want people like you. They want the investors of the world. They want entrepreneurs. They want businesses of the world. How do they get them? They have to delight us. They have to excite us. They have to say, yeah, this is the place for you. Because otherwise we can just walk to another border and go somewhere else. So with that, now, I want to talk about how I like to invest. Because you're all investors and you're thinking, God, really? Am I going to back this, guy who's got this sort of crazy idea? Why am I thinking about it? I've got a good real estate business going. Why do I want to mess with this? Well, you do because it is the future of progress, and it helps the world in a huge way to take your money and put it behind these entrepreneurs who are then going to make something of it. And be prepared to lose that money. Just get into the habit of losing and failing. At our school, Draper University, one of our pledge items is, I will fail and fail again until I succeed. As investors, I want you to look at it that way. And now I'll tell you kind of how a few things that I think about when I'm investing. First of all, we are global. So I'm always looking for something that's really big and transcends geographic borders. And then I'm thinking, is this an industry where you're getting bad service at a high cost? So maybe you guys can come up with a few. What industries are out there right now that you feel are getting bad service at a high cost? Anybody? Healthcare. Healthcare. Oh my gosh. Worst service, highest cost. It's crazy. Any others? Education. Education. There's that weird artificial union premium that somehow we're paying for a good education. Anything else? What did I hear? Government. Oh, you've heard me speak before. So what I usually say is I first pick on my own industry. I say finance. Finance is this industry where we pay a crazy high price for our banks, for our investment banks, for our venture capitalists. We pay crazy prices and we get bad service. And what do you do about that? Well, whenever I look at an industry, I say, if it's got those characteristics, really high costs and a really high price for the service and really bad service, I say, what technology can be used to transform that industry? What can we do to go after healthcare, education, government, finance? What technology is out there that can sort of change the nature of those industries and give an entrepreneur a chance to build a wedge into a market that then can grow and eventually transform that industry so everybody gets good service at a low cost. So right now, that technology, I think there are lots of great technologies out there. There's 3D printing, there's CRISPR, there's all the marketplaces, the Uberization of everything, there's IoT, there are all sorts of really interesting technologies to bet on out there, but the one that's going to go after all these regulated industries is the blockchain and Bitcoin. It's unbelievable. Having a perfect ledger basically eliminates the need for all that bureaucracy because you can use a blockchain platform to do all the things, say, that government does. It keeps a perfect record of everybody who comes through the country. It does it keeps track of your health care and your health care insurance. It keeps track of your pensions or your age or whatever. It does all those things. And it's a permanent record that is incorruptible, fair, and honest. And I know that all the bureaucrats in the world are incorruptible, fair, and honest. But we know that the blockchain is. And so I look and I say, this is a huge opportunity. This is a globally transformative technology that is going to open up all sorts of new possibilities for entrepreneurship. And it's going to make our world awesome. You know, and in the meantime, we're going to still have international out there, but I'm seeing this beautiful global light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we're going to see some really amazing things. So I look at those industries, I look for that big margin, and I look for those technologies that are going right for something that could be really extraordinary. Then I think, okay, is this business interesting? Is it unique? Is it something that I could go and do? If I can go and do it, forget it. Is it something that that has an interesting new twist? Is there an idea in there? And then I think, okay, well, my specialty is business modeling, and so I then don't actually even care what they're thinking about for a business model, but then I go and I challenge those entrepreneurs with a business model and get them really thinking about the business model as much as they might have even thought about the technology, because that could be the make or break for the business. You keep the business alive long enough, it becomes successful. And then the other thing that we see thousands of business plans every year, And so we don't get to meet everybody. And so I make the cut based on how big's the market, is it an industry that needs transforming, and is it interesting technology? And then I say, okay, this passes all those tests, and I meet the entrepreneur. The one thing I'm looking for when I meet the entrepreneur is incredible gusto and enthusiasm. They have to just love what they're doing. It doesn't have to be like cheerleading, you know, go, go, team. But it does have to be like, I always ask this one question. It's a good question for all of you to ask when you're looking at an entrepreneur. Why are you doing this? Do it that way. Why are you thinking? What are you thinking? Why are you doing this? And then it's interesting. The great entrepreneurs are separated from the would-be entrepreneurs very quickly. The would-be entrepreneurs say, well, because my friend thought it was a good idea, and I would have, or the bold ones say, I want to make money, or they say, I want to make you money. Those are sort of the clever ones. But the one that I back is the one that says, because it has to be this way, because I told my boss over and over, this is the way that all the customers want this. This is so important. And my boss just wouldn't listen because he's got that gravy train going. And he knows that we got to do it this, he knows that maybe we got to do it this way, but he just has this great thing going, and it's an innovator's dilemma or whatever. But I've got to do it. And if I'm not going to do it with you, I'm going to do it with somebody else. There are plenty of people, you know, plenty of fish in the sea. When I see that, I think, okay, this guy or girl, by the way, women are rocking it now. Yeah. It's amazing. And most of, I mean, the ones I see are these ones that go through Draper University, and they come to Draper University kind of go, oh, hi, I'm here. And they leave Draper University going, I'm going to take over the world. Because they go through this survival training, and they come out just like super strong. And there's this wave. My daughter is only backing women. There's this wave where you're going from, you know, what used to be like 5% of entrepreneurs being 5% of entrepreneurs being women to now like, I don't know, 30. And that to me looks like a major trend. And the women who do start businesses are going to be quite extraordinary because they're taking that big, you know, they're taking that big step we were talking about. Ooh, little stiff legs. So where was I? You know, women, they always confuse me. So, so that when you see an entrepreneur like that, go ahead and take the plunge with them. And think in terms of like, hey, I want to try this. This is going to be pretty interesting. And here's the way I would invest in venture capital. I would take the money that you have that you can basically throw away and your life won't change. Okay? And then divide that into 20 pieces. And then divide that, each of those in half, and then put that much money into this entrepreneur that you fall in love with. And then what'll happen is you'll find another one, and do 3 right away. Like tomorrow, you'll see a bunch of them. Invest in 3 of them right away, because then nobody can blame you for just blowing it with that one entrepreneur you backed, because you can go, oh no, it's a portfolio. I've got 3. These, oh yeah, well they're having trouble, but these other 2, you know. And it's the same recommendation I give to new analysts and associates in venture firms. Just get 3 done, because then they can't look at you and just think of that one loser you brought to them. And try to win every time, but expect to lose 60% of the time. And the reason I say 60, first of all, that's about my record. But the other thing is, if you expect to win more than half the time, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to stop investing. But if you expect to lose more than half the time, you're going to go in there and go, okay, I might lose it. Pretty likely I'm going to lose it, but I'm behind you and I believe in you and I hope that you make this thing successful. Starting a business is so hard. It is brutal. Survival training at Draper University doesn't even test them to what they're going to have to go through when they actually do run a business. And you've got to kind of be when you're an investor, you've got to kind of be a big supporter, a cheerleader, but also a psychologist or a psychiatrist. They have real emotional problems. Think about this. Elon Musk, he says, we're going to Mars. And everybody goes, whoa, that guy's crazy. But then there's like 3 or 4% of the people that go, how would we get to Mars? And some of them are the best engineers in the world, and they go, I want to work for that guy. So he's alone, though. He's out there alone for a long time before people start recognizing that, hey, yeah, maybe we'll get to Mars. But it's tough, and that's why we say you get rid of the high school hang-ups. Now, because you've got to be willing to stand there alone and just be there. Here I am. I believe in this, and I'm just going to keep believing this, and I'm just hoping that people start understanding that this is the way to go. And so it's good for you to sort of say, yeah, I believe in your vision. I'm behind you. Keep going. And a lot of times entrepreneurs are kind of deciding, do I take the safe route or always encourage them to take the risky route. Always, that's the one they really want. That's the one in the back of their mind. And that's the one that'll make you a fortune. So then you've got these, you've decided to bet on these entrepreneurs. But before you bet on these entrepreneurs, there are a few things to watch out for. Watch out for the relationship between the founders. First of all, if they both want to be the CEO, they'll talk over each other in the meeting. If they're dating, all they really care about is like dating, and they're not really as interested in what they're pitching you. They're just having the excitement and the whatever, and they're not really going to dedicate their lives to it, or maybe one of them is, but that relationship is going to blow up, and so is the business. So I don't recommend that. But if they're married, it works. But you've got to tell them that one of you is CEO, and whoever that is has to be able and willing to take all the risks that they have to take to make this thing successful. Because what usually happens is one spouse is the one who says, yeah, we've got to make sure that we can pay for everybody's education, and we've got to do this and that. Well, you need one of them to just go, yeah, but I'm the CEO, and we're going to try this, and this may totally blow up, and we're going to have to go get jobs. Incidentally, at Draper University, we have this exercise. Okay, you have 24 hours, go get a job offer on paper from somebody you've never met before. They go out, they do. About 90% of them come back with a job offer on paper. It's pretty amazing. But what we're really telling them is, hey, you can always go get a job. You can't always change the world. You You can always get a job. Couple of other things. Look for, these are kind of broad classifications, but make sure the person fits the job. And make sure that the passion just isn't somebody who has a really good way of selling. You don't get sort of thrown into the sales pitch. And the good way to do that is to meet them twice, because the first day they may be pitching this, and the next day they may be pitching something else. And then the other watch out, gotcha, in my mind, is I'm a serial entrepreneur. I scream running away from entrepreneurs that are serial entrepreneurs, because I think, oh, wait, serial entrepreneur, you're just going to, you're here for a quick hit and then you're gone? I mean, I'm counting on you to run this business for your life. And you're telling me that you've done this 6 times and, some of them you sold, some of them you lost all the money, whatever. I'm thinking, well, great, I'm glad you're able to try and try again, but, and I think it's okay to have entrepreneurs who have failed, and they keep trying and going. But if they call themselves a serial entrepreneur, it's something to watch out for, because then that's in their mind. It's like, I just go from one to the next to the next. They've got to have, the ones that are great are the ones that say, yeah, I did this and I failed, and then I tried again with this little different pitch and I failed, and this time I'm going to do it right. But I'm still going after kind of that same thing. Although there's one exception here. That is, if an entrepreneur has made a fortune and done an outstanding job, then the second time around, you don't want that person in the same industry. They carry too much baggage. You want them doing something entirely different, but you've got a total winner, so it's still worth backing them, as long as it's something very different. So that's the exception to the rule. There are always exceptions. And always bet on the exceptions. You're looking for the outlier. You're looking for the crazy guy, the crazy girl, the one who's kind of a little, maybe like, are they off? Or is she off? Or is she brilliant? It's got to be a little bit of that. And then the other thing I think about is, if they come from the financial world, sometimes they don't. It's all about the numbers, and that doesn't do it. And if they come from the best are usually the ones that come from the engineering world or the marketing world. Usually, not a total rule, but usually. Because the marketing people sort of see this connection between the customer and the engineering, and the engineers come up with these really incredible things that could apply to interesting markets. With that, you're here for a couple of days. You might as well back a few entrepreneurs. Have some fun out there. And then ride this wild ride that I've been able to enjoy through my whole life. With that, I don't know how much more time we have. In fact, we've probably run over. Oh yeah. Oh hey, we got another half hour. Let's do a Q&A. All right. Thank you. This is awesome. So, small group. Anybody? Yeah.
Haven't your luggage?
Oh, God. Okay, what happened to my luggage is a great question. This is great. I went. Everything was fine, and I was in Seoul, and then I flew from Seoul to Uzbekistan to Kazakhstan. I got to Uzbekistan. I got into the wrong line. And I was and they said visa, and I said wait, I'm just going through. And then I went, oh yeah, transfer, and they said, oh okay. you got to go back this way. Well, of course, if the person at the desk is going, Visa, you know. And so then I went back, and I was going straight to the transfer place, and then some guy stops me, okay? This, very official guy. Excuse me, passport, and it was like, wait a second, I'm going over there. He stopped me in the middle, and I said, okay, well, he looks official, and I gave him the passport, and then he disappears for about 20 minutes with my passport. And I'm thinking, oh, great, Uzbekistan. Welcome to Uzbekistan. And then he comes back, and he goes, here's your boarding pass, your bag's on the plane, everything's great. And I thought, oh, thank you. And I thought, he just wanted to take care of me. And so then I got on the plane and I went to Kazakhstan. And fortunately, I was working with some great people at Kazakhstan who were able to buy me a fresh pair of underwear and a few other things. But then it didn't show up the next day, didn't show up the next day, didn't show up the next day. And then they said, we found it. It's in the lost and found here in Uzbekistan. I don't know what that means. It means like, hey, okay, we've taken everything out of it that we need. And, and you're too tall, nobody fits into this stuff. And so now it's supposed to be on its way to Turkey. So there you have it. And why? Why? I mean, let's just eliminate these borders and go global. Why are we doing this? Why do we put up with all these leaders? It just makes no sense.
This is also a bad service and a high cost.
Oh, yeah, and government. Oh, God. Yeah, the customs. Oh, yeah, that's just all wasted money. The whole thing. Totally wasted money. Yeah. And it used to be that one country would get like super rich and they'd build these beautiful buildings and everything would be great and then they'd want to protect it and they'd keep people out. Well, now I travel a lot and I keep going to these countries where everybody thinks, oh God, you're going to Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan or whatever. Oh boy, you're going to be, going to the bathroom in holes. And no, like you go and these buildings are spectacular and the place looks spotless and the people are all completely informed and they're just like people from everywhere else in the world. And you start thinking, wait, what are we protecting? Anyway, what was your question?
My question is, you have some of the best names out there as success stories. But can you talk about a memorable failure of the 60%?
Great, yeah. Okay, here are my biggest failures. Biggest failures. Okay, you ready? I passed on Google and Facebook and Yahoo and... Okay, so my biggest failures to act. It's not like what everybody's thinking is failures. Oh, these little failures, you lose money. Who cares? You lose money one time. I missed out on, 10,000 times on my money on Google. My partners all said, wait, we can't do Google. We have 6 other search engines. I was with Larry and Sergey on the plane, and I met these guys, and I thought, whoa, these guys are impressive. This is impressive. And I said, but there are a lot of other search engines. We'd already backed 6 of them. And somehow the discussion went the wrong way there. And Facebook, I got outbid. What else? Facebook, my God, it just killed me because my daughter, it's all she could talk about. And she was on Facebook all the time, and I thought, there's something here. But they were very clever, and they played us against another venture firm, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the guy kept coming back and apologizing and saying, I'm so sorry, it's going to have to be 40 million this time. I said, okay. Then he'd come back a week later. I'm so sorry. It's going to have to be 80 million. This is Sean Parker. He is brilliant. That guy's amazing. Best negotiator I've ever seen. He started me at 20 million where I thought I was thinking, oh, this is awesome. And then we got up to 115 million and I went, oh, I can't do this. And 115 million, what is it? It's 300 billion now? Oops. So those are the biggest failures. And in doing things, I never really feel those are great failures. It's like, okay, so yeah, I invested in this entrepreneur, I lost my money. So what? You know, I still live perfectly fine. Yes?
You talked a lot about blockchain and Bitcoin. My question is,
I don't think I talked enough about blockchain and Bitcoin.
well,
actually.
you gave an impression that it was something to invest in. I can't for the life of me understand it still, and I've researched it a lot.
Okay, I'm going to help you with
Yeah.
understanding first, let's work on Bitcoin, okay? Because that's sort of the simple one. Bitcoin, okay, first, think about our deep ancestors who kind of went around. First, they didn't know. They said, here, I'll give you donkey if I can stay in your village or whatever, you know, or hey, you got fire, I got, you know, something. So they started trading. So then it was like they needed something. So they came up with like shells or pretty rocks or something. So they're sitting there with shells and they go, okay, I got 38 shells and I need meat. So here are your shells for the meat. And then the shells became this thing that we were all trading. But virtually, the shells are kind of worthless, right? And then we kind of went, well, we're going to get more sophisticated. We're going to go for precious metals, and let's make gold and silver really, really valuable, really kind of the thing. You don't have to carry as much around of it. A small bag of gold can get you, you know, a palace. So let's work it that way. And then in gold, it was just like rocks, right? And then people sort of said, God, you know, we're kind of a little low on gold, but we still need to make all these deals. We don't have enough liquidity in this market. I don't think they had the word liquidity. But let's go for the promise of gold. Okay, I'll promise you gold, or I'll promise you silver. And then it was like, here, you get a silver certificate, and it'll be printed up really nicely, and here it's a silver certificate. And then it was like, God, we were sort of running out of gold and silver, and we don't have as much silver to back up all those papers that we're sending out to people. Okay, let's just promise that we can deliver the silver or deliver something of value. And so let's do something called the Federal Reserve Note, which is like backed by the full faith and confidence of the federal government. And we'll just print these things and then we'll have more liquidity. And things kind of worked pretty well that way for a while. And then people kind of went, wow, you can go even farther. You can create credit. You know, here's an IOU. Here. I owe you this money, just give it to me now because now it really means something to me and tomorrow it won't matter. And then people started to electronically move money around. And each time that one of these things happened, the world got wealthier. Everybody wins. If you and I make a deal, we're both better off because we made this deal. Because at least in both of our minds, that's a good deal because we wouldn't have done it otherwise. So we're both better off. You want more deals. Okay, so suddenly there's this new technology that allows you, it's not this little piece of paper, it's not a shell, it's a bunch of electrons running around up there in the sky. But it creates a ton more liquidity. And let me give you a reason. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I actually invested in a bunch of Bitcoin at $6 a Bitcoin. And I had it, and then I did it through another guy who stored it at Mt. Gox. And I was thinking, hey, this Bitcoin's really exciting. You know, people are going to be able to trade this, and it's going to be really fun. And it's going to be a new form of currency. It's going to be interesting. And maybe it'll just be for games for a while, but who knows? Maybe people will be able to buy houses with it someday or something. Well, so then Mt. Gox, that guy from Mt. Gox, just goes and steals all the Bitcoin, or it disappears. And I thought, oh, well, that's the end of that. Not just my money, but I just thought Bitcoin is gone. It's, you know. But the next day, Bitcoin traded down about 10%. I thought, 10%? I thought this would be zero. Why is it still at 10%? And then I realized somebody out there really needs this. And then I thought about who might really need it. Yeah, sure, there were the drug dealers and the gun runners and all that, right? But there were also the unbanked. Okay, now I'm going to go through the unbanked with you right now. Let's say you have $7.82 and you want to set up a bank account with somebody. They look at you and they say, well, there's no way I'm going to set up a bank account for $7.82. And you say, why? Because it cost me $200 just to regulate, just to deal with all the regulations for your account. Why would I ever do that? So then the unbanked and the regulations keep piling on. The government always has new ideas for what the banks have to do, right? And they keep piling on. So that $200 becomes $300, $400. And at some point, there's this group of people who are going, well, I can't be in that economy at all. So all of a sudden, there's Bitcoin. And they're going, hey, we've got an economy. We've got a way to trade. We've got our shells. We've got the thing that we can do. And here, I'll give you some Bitcoin for this. And actually, there is a way to trade the Bitcoin for, you know, these other fiat currencies. And suddenly, you've got a real economy that now, what are there, 3 billion unbanked in the world, something like that? You got like almost half the world can now participate in a new global economy. And it's global. Oh my God, it's fantastic. Let's say, just for sake of argument, that one country that you live in suddenly becomes taken over by a dictator, and that dictator, you're thinking, I've got to get out of here. And I've got 30 million whatever monopoly money that country uses. Like in Hong Kong, a lot of people did this. It was like, I have to leave all my money behind and I've got to move somewhere else. And so they all move somewhere else. Well, now you can do that and you can just go, oh, I'll just pull down my Bitcoin. And you still have your money. You might have lost your monopoly money from that, you know, the dictatorship, but you still have money that is now globally recognized, and that is so powerful, unbelievably powerful. Think of that, it's just like freeing. Kazakh! I'm free!
So that sounds very
blockchain.
amazing, yeah.
So blockchain.
Just if I can ask the question.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We manage an angel investment network out of Dubai, and we get loads of blockchain startups who may or may not need blockchain to run the business. So how can we, first as the people managing the network, understand that, and how can we explain it to people?
I'm glad you asked that. I should have said this earlier. There are these ICOs. Oh, by the way, you know, we talk about governments being in competition with each other for us. you see weird things happening with these governments because they're nervous. They're going, oh, I think I get it. My power is now going to fall because these people are global. and so all of a sudden you see China going, no ICOs. And then weirdly, the free part of Korea, South Korea, said, no ICOs. But then you see Japan going, Bitcoin is now a recognized currency of the Japan country. And then you think, okay, fast forward 10 years, which of those countries is going to be the winner? It's definitely Japan. And it's all the other countries. It's Estonia and Singapore. It's all the countries that are going, yeah, I'm taking that. Because what China and Korea have just done is said, let's say it was 1985, they've just said, we're not allowing the internet. They've just said, we're going to stay in the dark ages. And this new thing is happening. Anyway, how do you invest in these ICOs, blockchain, whatever, right? Okay, ICOs are something new. They are not a for-profit enterprise. They are not a non-profit enterprise. They're not an NGO. They're something new. They're a token of excitement. That's the way I would look at it, token of excitement. And the ICOs I have backed are when I sense a movement. I sense a societal transformation, something that is changing some part of society. And they're coins. You're not investing. You're buying coins. They're not, you don't, with those coins, it very rarely are those coins somehow connected to the profits of the business. And usually they're not. So you're not betting on the profits of the business if you're buying the coin. You're buying a coin, and if that coin spreads the way Bitcoin did, it will get more and more valuable. Now I'll give you a tip on valuing Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I thought, this is what I thought about when I thought about what's the upside on Bitcoin. What's all fiat currency worth? And it's like $100 trillion. Right now, all the virtual currencies are worth about $100 billion. So there's 1,000 times in there somehow. Okay, another way to look at those is if it's a new coin and I create it and it's Draper coin and then it's only me, then the coin's worth 0. But if you're willing to do something, buy it or trade in it, then at least we've got some value. And then if he joins us, then the 3 of us now are kind of trading in it. And then as each node is added, it grows with Metcalfe's law. So the value of a coin grows with the square of the nodes in the network. So you can, extrapolating from there, we got a long way to go. And we also have big opportunity in these coins. Now, if somebody's coming to you and they couldn't raise money from venture capitalists, and so they're saying, hey, I'm doing an ICO, this is the new thing, and run away. But if somebody comes to you and says, society needs this, we need a coin that does this. It's got to be faster, like Tezos. It's got to be more integrated, like Bancor. It's got to be, it's got to do smart contracts, like Ethereum. If you see a new way that people are using these tokens, then spend some time and think about it, and those are the places to go. So those are ICOs. Blockchain is just this awesome technology that's this perfect ledger that and a perfect store of data that is, it's amazing. And so you can apply that to a whole bunch of different uses. And there are many, many industries that need a blockchain for their data. And so I would, if it's like we're using blockchain to change blank, listen very hard. Any from the back? You guys have been very patient back there. 6 minutes and 43 seconds. Yes? Stand up so I can hear you.
What do you think government debt will go when Bitcoin becomes an international currency? Could governments be able to, just inflate away their debt? Because the US has now, what, $1 trillion of debt, and suddenly you have this Bitcoin. Now, you could just inflate it away. So what's your opinion about that?
So it's great. I think what happens there is the markets decide, and maybe the debt starts to lower in value. But here's what I'm thinking. The crypto world is much more efficient, much more effective, quicker, cheaper, faster to move money. It's going to slowly but surely eliminate, not totally eliminate, but take over where fiat currency exists today. So I believe that 5 years from now, you're going to go in and try to buy a cup of coffee with fiat currency, and they're going to laugh at you. What? You don't own any Tezos? Don't own any Bitcoin? Why are you using that weird paper stuff? Why? And so I actually think that these, and that's 5 years, because things move so fast now in technology. It's not like 20 years. I think it's like 5 years where we're embarrassed to be using fiat currency because we're like, it's not cool anymore. But in that case, it'll just be a market thing. And all these things sort of happen and evolve, and they take different forms. Anytime there's a new technology of any kind, it transforms an industry, and the industry adapts. And eventually, maybe it does go out of business. We don't make buggy whips anymore because we have these horseless carriages that move us around. Cars, cars. Yeah. And so the buggy whip manufacturers were kind of slowly went out of business, except for maybe the specialty items or whatever. So my guess is fiat becomes that buggy whip that kind of goes and doesn't quite disappear, but it becomes more of like a specialty item. Yeah.
How would you disrupt education for the positive? Because many people on this planet don't have access to high-quality education.
Yeah, so how do you disrupt education? Education, it turns out, well, of course, there are the MOOCs, and they have done great things in education. But when people start a MOOC, usually they fall off about 93% of the time. So only 7% of the people who start a MOOC course finish a MOOC course. So something's missing there. And I think it's the person cheering you on. I think it's that. And that person cheering you on could be virtual, so I think that would be fine. But there has to be that person there. I would have liked, I got pretty heavy and I wanted to lose some weight, but it was not until my wife said, hey, we've got to try this. She looks at me, we got to try this. That I actually did the diet and, kind of lost all the weight. By the way, sugar is poison, just in case. And anything you see on TV is not food. And there's your new diet. So I look at disrupting education in a couple of ways. One is politically, education's a mess, at least in the United States, and especially in California. The teachers union controls it. and dominates it and makes the laws for it, and it's the perfect thing for an entrepreneur to go in there and go, if I've got a wedge, I can take these guys. You know, I can grab a piece of this market. And people do. I mean, there are a lot of families that have decided to homeschool, and there are a couple of the voucher programs, and there are some good things that are starting to happen there because it just is so bad. But what I tried to do something politically to fix that. I tried to create the voucher program in California. Teachers Union spent $100 million to beat me. And they slashed my tires. They did everything. It was horrible. And then I thought, well, the best way to improve education is to lead by example. And that's why I started Draper University of Heroes. Suddenly there's a new kind of school. It doesn't have like the full-time faculty sitting there that bores you to death for an entire year. It doesn't have the most of the money going into some deep, dark research that never sees the light of day. And it doesn't have big, huge buildings and fancy offices for all the professors. I mean, Azra, sorry about that. But, instead, we have a rule. Nobody speaks for more than an hour at Draper University except Gina, and Gina is special because she rips their hearts out for an entire day from 8 in the morning until about 3 in the morning. And she just goes, she's one of these emotional, spiritual teachers that is just extraordinary. So nobody speaks for more than an hour. So the students are kind of going, oh, this is interesting. Here's somebody who's doing PR with their life. Here's somebody who started a business in 3D printing. Here's a Bitcoin company. Here's something. Hey, we got a tour of the Tesla factory. It's bringing education to what's really going on in the world. And we're not teaching, I'm sorry, we're not teaching ancient Turkish or Greek. We're teaching coding and anything that's kind of the new thing. And if coding's no longer relevant, we're going to teach that next thing, and we're going to do it immediately. So we have that jump. And now it's really fun because I'm watching as not only all these college presidents coming to visit me and saying, what are you doing here? Because, we had we've been in business 6 years, and we had the guy, the biggest ICO in all of China, or the second biggest, was done by 2 Draper University students because they learned about Bitcoin. Nobody was teaching Bitcoin 4 years ago, but we were. So we're looking at education, we're sort of saying, look, it's too expensive, it's wasting people's time, and it's not relevant, and it's not getting people to be more effective in the world. So let's do something that does all those 3 things better. So lead by example. That's the only thing I can think of. And use those technologies any way you can. Bring them in. Yeah, behind you.
Hi, team.
This is going to have to be the last one.
Yes, please.
Oh, wait. I always like to give the last one to a woman. Okay, you and then some woman.
Okay.
Okay, you're up next. Okay. Yeah.
Can a large...
Wait a second, this guy put his hand up. Okay, go ahead.
Can a large, big company be a startup?
Yes.
How?
Yes. Large, big companies can be startups. And here's what has to happen. And I know how to do this now because I kind of had the problem myself. It's called an innovator's dilemma. I ran DFJ, and it got to be a big thing, and it was like a machine. It kept being able to kind of go. Everything was kind of working its way. And then all of a sudden I realized that venture capital is changing. There's crowdfunding, and there's AngelList, and there's Bitcoin, and there's electronic shares, and there's all this new stuff. Venture capital is going to change. I got to do something. And then I went to my partners and I said, we got to do something. And they were kind of going, wait, we got a machine here. We're not going to go do all those crazy things. We can't do that. We don't want to give up this machine. It's really working. And so what I did was I said, okay, well then I kind of have to manage my own thing. And fortunately, I had enough money to kind of get it all going. But I raised other money, telling the investors, look, I'm going after something completely new. This is not the Draper Fisher Jurvetson thing that I created before. This is like, I'm going after something new. I see a major change in venture capital. I don't know where it's coming from. I just sense it, and we got to do something about it, and I'm going to raise money that way. So fortunately, there were plenty of people that I was able to raise the money from. So then I put it to work, and I started to realize all these things I was able to do and how freeing that was to be outside the big machine. So as a big corporation, and I'm outside, but I'm also still, one of the managing partners of DFJ. I just don't manage that money anymore. So what happens, where I manage the money back, anyway, it's complicated, but we've kept it, and I've got this innovator's dilemma beaten. The way you've got to beat the innovator's dilemma is it's got to be like a skunk works project. It's got to be outside of the organization. It can't be tainted by the organization in any way. It's got to be free of the organization. In fact, it may even be worth it to name a separate corporation that's fully owned that goes off in this weird new direction. Yeah. Oh, Google did it, Alphabet. They did that. Yes, final question.
So actually, I should first of all mention that I'm a layperson to all these investment issues.
Until tomorrow, because tomorrow you're going to make 3 investments, and then you're going to be
I
a
hope so.
veteran.
I'm looking forward. But while listening, and I just thought it can't be that everything is about money, speed, progress. So all has to be somehow value-based. So how do you deal at your university, for example, with that part of the life?
Great question. Values are they're absolutely critical, and we actually have a pledge. I will promote freedom at all costs. I will do everything in my power to drive, build, and pursue progress and change. My brand, my network, my reputation are paramount. I will set positive examples for others to emulate. I will instill good habits in myself. I will take care of myself. I will fail and fail again until I succeed. I will explore the world with gusto and enthusiasm. I will treat people well. I will do my best to make reparations for my digressions. So yes, but think about it this way. If you are doing something good, it is much more likely that it will spread. People don't want to be associated. They run away. They feel tainted if they're doing something that's not really good for society. And I'll do my little rant on nonprofits and for-profits. Nonprofits and for-profits are both the same thing. They're just 2 vehicles to accomplish something. And I believe that for-profits have historically been so much better for society. So making money turns out to be a really good thing. Because if you can make money, then you can spread the good word around the world. Think about this. There are these nonprofits, they take millions and millions of dollars, they do good things. They go and they drill a well in the Congo so some family can drink clean water. And it costs, about $1 million. If you took that $1 million and spread Google a little farther, everybody in Congo can now look at Google and say, that's how I drill a well. And they can go do it. I mean, I think about all the incredible things that have happened. We backed Hotmail. Hotmail was, hey, we're going to give free email away. That's what they told us. Free email. It's free. I said, and then? Like, how are you going to make money? And they said, we don't know. But we still backed them because free email meant a lot of things to people. That suddenly spread all over the world. We backed them thinking, this is going to be great if it works. I don't know if we'll ever make money, but it's going to be great. And then, of course, there were hundreds of ways to make money off of email. And so we look at it that way, but it turns out that if you're pretty much going for backing an entrepreneur for something that they're trying to get done, when you meet these entrepreneurs, they're doing something really great. They're doing something good for society. So whenever you listen to the news and they go, oh, these evil corporations or whatever, corporations are people who are doing really good things. They're making it so you can be clothed and fed and housed and all those things. Corporations are like the lifeblood of our entire world. And whenever I see the news people or Hollywood or whatever, they're always picking on the big guy who did this big thing. Every time I think, oh my God, they are getting it so wrong. When I think of Bill Gates, I just say, thank you. When I think of Steve Jobs, I say, thank you. Think of Larry Ellison, thank you. Donald Trump, yeah. What, $10 billion worth of thank you? You bet. You bet. So, sure, and think of what the press has done to him. Go ahead, any of you, go run for president. See what happens to you. Anyway, thanks, it's been a blast.